Why won't you give Marlo a peach?
Which housewife has the most to say when you sit them down for those confessionals?
Oh, who has the most to say?
Yeah.
Dorinda's like the best in the chair, I think.
Oh,
I
well,
love Dorinda.
Listen, and maybe I'm biased because Nene Leakes is an absolute icon when it comes to a soundbite. Like, I remember when I first started the show, I was a story producer, and we would get the interviews in, and even if your episode didn't have anything to do with Nene, you were gonna watch the whole interview. Like, we would take our lunch breaks, we would watch the whole Nene interview because she's going to give you your entire life. Like, she's one of the best that's ever done it.
I always enjoyed Kim Richards.
Oh, good old Kim, yeah.
Well, because the first season, I did the first season of Beverly Hills, and you expect certain things in interviews of how people are going to answer things, and you're watching her footage, and you're like, what the heck is she talking about? Right. And then she'll be talking about, and then midstream, she'll go like, oh, there's a cable here. And you're like, and it just became this, we started to realize the more you open it up, the more you let her answer, and then you stay on her for that extra beat, and you get that face or something. It was really gold, so.
What kind of pre-existing relationships and friendships do you look at when you are adding ladies to the show?
I just have to say that is the most important part of the recipe when putting a show together. If they're not friends, just forget about it.
Right.
Don't waste your time, don't waste your money. And it's the friendships that make the show happen. They've known each other for 20 plus years on New York Housewives. They've known each other, they've been there through the ups, the downs, the failed relationships, the kids leaving and going off to college.
The jail time.
Jail time and arrest.
In and out of jail.
And that's where the stakes are, is in the friendship. So it's important that, you know, new cast members, they don't always have the deepest connection as long as a majority of the cast has a connection, as is the case with New York Housewives. You know, a new person can come along, but they need to be friends.
What is it like when you guys have to break the fourth wall? Is that...
I just have a story, because on Atlanta, season 5, Kim Zolciak exited the show, and it was a big deal. And she pretty much ripped off her microphone, pushed aside the camera, and that was the last that we saw of Kim. We had to use that, you know. We wanted the fans to know that this is real. Like, this woman had a moment, and she's done with the show, and you got to see it. That's exactly how it happened.
Season 2 of Below Deck Med, there was a love triangle with Adam, Malia, and Wes, our bosun. What we did not know as production is that Adam and Malia had met at their STCW, which is their yachting certification course. And they came on the boat and they pretended to just meet for the first time. All of a sudden, I hear Adam say, you know, what about Santorini? What about all this stuff? And I'm like, wait a minute. A person who just like met another human being like a week and a half ago would not be talking about these, you know, elaborate trips unless he wants to wear her skin to his birthday party. Like, he's not that crazy. And I'm like, they know each other. So then I'm like, there's no way. And so I zeroed in on this and I'm like, oh my God. So I went up to them like, do you guys know each other? Like, no. And they like literally like both lied. And listen, it's all out in the open. We're all okay talking about this. They both totally lied. And I was like, you guys have to be honest. You won't get in trouble because we just shoot what's real. So if you guys are hiding that, it's gonna come out no matter what. The truth always comes out, no matter what. We're like professional stalkers, basically. That's our job.
Right. And so, psychologists.
That's right, psychologists, den mothers, den fathers,
everything.
Whatever. Like dealing with all their mommy and daddy issues.
Right. Sometimes these women and you know these participants are on the show for so long that they are trying to hide certain things. But your mics don't lie. You know, and when we hear what you're saying on your mic and we're able to use it, it helps you guys see that, like, oh, they're not scripting this show, which is another thing. Please don't think we script the show. Like, we are not Steven Spielberg. I wish we could script it. We can't. You know, we're following what they really go through, and those extra fourth wall moments help to bring the truth forward more.
The last season when Ashton got thrown overboard, that was a big thing. You have to show it's real. You have to show the cameraman going in and saving the person. Otherwise, it's like, it doesn't make sense. If somebody just goes overboard and that's what it is. It's like, that's what makes it really real and raw.
Now, every show has evolved since it first premiered. How would you guys describe the evolution of your shows?
Well, I mean, a lot of people have new looks.
Yes, they do, yes.
You know, you make a little more money, buy a little more hair, you buy some new teeth, You buy some new accessories.
Yes.
There's a lot of benefits to being a housewife and making the coin.
I think with Below Deck, it's funny, aside from the cast, because we have fresh yachties and we have a lot of turnover because that's how the yachting industry is. So I think for us, it's more of the evolution of production because, you know, back when we first started, we didn't have that many surveillance cameras because we're like, the boat's not that big. How much can you actually cover? We had like, you know, 8 to 10 surveillance cameras. Then we started missing things and we realized if we put more cameras and the boat was always running audio, we could hear everything. And so that's how the show's evolved. And I think as you guys have seen, the show's like grown and there's more stories coming out because we're able to hear more and more stuff's happening. Before it was all happening, we just couldn't hear it. And now we have, you know, close to 18 surveillance cameras. So we're always rolling 24 hours a day and we don't miss anything.
In terms of fighting in ridiculous places was Vicky in Whistler on the side of the mountain. And it's just, what's great about these shows is whether it's costume parties or events that they go to where they're dressed up, and yet they get into these amazing fights in these ridiculous outfits. And again, you couldn't plan that. So she's on the top of the slope, and they're all in their ski gear, and it's just snowing like crazy. And there are families going by and things like that, and they're yelling about threesomes, and I'm like, only in Canada could we get away with that.
What does like a legal issue do, like Luann's DUI and arrest? How does that affect you know, your production and the way you tell the stories?
Well, we obviously cover it all. We have to go through a legal department and post just to say what we can, literally what we can and can't play as far as legally. But we try to play it all. We try to find ways. We go find footage. You know, with Luann, how many times do we play her and the black and white footage in the car with her hair back and the court? Like, I don't know if you have a drinking problem, but stop drinking. Okay, you know.
Probably for me, the most memorable thing was, for some reason, we asked Tom Schwartz what he wanted to do for his bachelor party, and I don't imagine that it would be, I don't know, paintball or strip clubs or something that, you know, an adult human being would say. And he's like, yeah, I just really want all my friends and I to dress up in drag. And so they brought in these amazing artists, and they got pretty. I mean, they got really, really beautiful. I mean, Aaron and I were talking about when the reality gods smile upon you. For a massive argument to break out. And, you know, and Sandoval didn't take his heels off. He didn't take his wigs off. And so they're, you know, running out through this hotel. We're waiting for the cops to come, you know, just 3 grown men, you know, wearing eyeliner and nylons, screaming at each other. And that's something that we don't get every day.
The season for OC with Brooks in his cancer story, and it's like, you can't make that up.
Brooks in the cancer.
No one, even if I made that up, no one would do that.
Right.
I have to say, of all the housewives that I've worked with, Bethany is the one person. They're all amazing. Like, I love them all, but she's the one person who fully lived her life on television, and I really appreciate that.
What is the logistics of planning a vacation? Is that really tough when it travels, when you go on the road with these ladies?
What's great about the trips are that it puts the women together, and they cannot escape. They can't walk away. They're sleeping together. They're in the same rooms, and so for 3, 4, 5 days, they have to deal with the drama, and it bubbles because it just does. And so there's a beauty within those trips that helps us from a story standpoint.
I also want to know about the christening too, because that Jersey christening, filming that moment must have been chaos.
That was our first week of shooting, and the reality gods, and it became a perfect storm of Teresa deciding that she needs to go over and say something to her brother and sister-in-law, and the rest is history. It took the entire season and multiple seasons following that for them to work through all that stuff. I mean, that is as real as you can get.
I want to ask about taglines, because I know we get this question a lot. I'm always curious about taglines, how they come about, what the process is like.
Ooh. Barry.
It's a combination of the ladies coming up with a lot of their own ideas, and then they'll feed us something, and then we'll sit around. I like to say Lisa Shannon, the other executive producer on the show, one of the other ones, we like to have a glass of wine and sit around at the office and kind of come up with some fun lines for them. But it really is a combination. They come up with some, we come up with some, and then whatever Bravo likes best is really what lands, as long as they're cool with it. They won't say anything that they're not okay with.
Right. Has there ever been a tagline that didn't make it that you wish would have made it?
Oh, yes. Oh, my God.
Oh, they all got them.
Oh, my God. This was a Candace tagline that I really, really love. I came from Jesus, but I may have come from Jesus, but I stayed to slay. Ooh. I love that one.
I love that
one. Chosen. But each tagline is based off your current season and what your story is. So if you really tell from all the franchises, whatever their tagline is, it really embodies what the overall story is for that season.
Yeah. You have one too?
Well, I have two.
Two?
One is on the Tom note. It's not about Tom, it's about tomorrow.
Oh my God!
And then the other one we loved was I didn't break the girl code, but I did break penal code 4-029.
That's a good one.
What is your favorite hot mic moment?
Ooh.
Oh, ours was St. Bart's when Luann was behind the bathroom door talking to, gosh, her friend about the pirate.
Yeah.
I mean, she'd been on it for so long. You'd think she would know to take her mic off. She didn't, and we thank her for that.
What really happened in Nene's closet with Nene and Porsha?
Go ahead, girl. You got this.
Well, as we know, last season, Nene was having a very rough season. Her husband was diagnosed with cancer, and it was really, really difficult for her on and off the camera. I think that particular night, she had a meltdown. She completely unraveled, and I think she would acknowledge that she did. It's unfortunate it happened in front of the cast, the crew, you know, everyone. And, you know, there's two different versions of what happened. You know, Porsha said she went into the closet and then Nene yanked her belt and yanked her out of it. Nene says that it didn't happen, so it really is left up for interpretation.
I have a question about Potomac. When they were on vacation and Katie went home without telling any of her friends, and you guys knew, do you wait for the women to find out on their own, or is that information that you share with them when you know?
We did not know. I was on that trip. You know, the next day we were shooting and some producer came to me and was like, we can't find Katie. And we were like, what do you mean you can't find Katie? And we were like, but immediately as producers, this is what you have to know, we go into reality mode. So it can't be about us. We're like, Giselle needs to go to her room, right? Because we want to track it. We don't want to be the ones to find out. We want you to find out on camera. So Giselle went to her room, tried to get in, couldn't find things, and then from there, the cast took over. We literally did not know where Katie was. Now, because she went, quote unquote, missing, we were concerned and we had to involve security.
Why won't you give Marlo a peach?
I'm saying, oh, Lord. Okay. Marlo is a very important part of everything that we do. She is the one. She is amazing. And you would never say never. She may get a peach one day. I think up until this time, it just hasn't been the right time. But that doesn't mean that that time won't come. And you should watch this season because she's a very big part of it. And the conversation is always being had about Marlo, and it will continue to be had.